Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're joining us after watching part one, welcome back for part two in our series, Mompreneurs and Money, Less Money Stress and More Money Success. Yes, today's topic is discover your biggest money blind spot, and this is a good one. But before we jump right into that content for today, I want to quickly recap what we covered in part one, just in case you missed that one and you're joining us for the first time. So in part one, I talked about the discovery that I made when I was really at the kind of breaking point in my business, I would call it. And this discovery freed me up from the struggle I had been having and really opened up my money flow. It was quite incredible. I talked a lot about what that looked like, what it was. I'm not going to go into that today. So if you missed that story, definitely go back and check part one. That replay is available now. And I also shared in that call that despite a lot of the success that I was having in my business, because it wasn't like from the outside, it didn't look like I was struggling. It was more just the money flow was tight, and it would go in these peaks and valleys where the peaks were great, but they were shorter and further between the valleys. So there would be months where, I would watch the money get less and less and less. And I'm wondering, when is the next client coming in? When is more money coming in? And so it would get really stressful riding that roller coaster and not being able to really feel like I could count on my business. Because of that, I ended up racking up enormous debt, trying to pay bills, and also trying to figure out what my problem was all these years so I could get out of that cycle of the money stress and really start to relax into a greater money flow and success in my business. But that discovery that I made, and I now believe, everything happens for us, not to us. And I believe that I needed to get into that place to make the discovery that I made. And the thing is, I see so many mompreneurs now. Ever since I made this discovery, I'm like, there it is. There it is. I can recognize it when it's happening. And it led me to become aware of a trap. What I believe is a really common trap, because I've been seeing it in so many mompreneurs, which is this trap, as I call it, of not really listening to yourself. And a lot of us, especially because we're moms, we're conditioned to take care of our families and, listen to our people and be there for them. And, if you're in a spiritual type conscious business, you may be a coach, or you may be working with people in some fashion where you're serving them, you're listening to them, you're there for them, right? You're hearing them, and you're giving them solutions and sharing your gifts. But we don't listen to ourselves. So we're really great at listening to everybody else, but not so great at listening to ourselves. And this was part of that discovery I made. I was great at listening to everybody else. It's one of the things actually that my coaching clients always comment on, but I wasn't listening to myself. And that was like a huge aha. And what I also discovered in there is that what we're actually listening to when we're not listening to ourselves, because you're listening to something, you're definitely listening to something, is we're listening either to the voices outside of us, looking to them for guidance, even though they're not at all connected to your purpose. So how would they know? But that's who we listen to, right? Or we think we're listening to ourselves, and this is where I got caught, thinking that I'm listening to myself, when really what I was listening to and acting upon were my voices of self-betrayal. And so I talked about that in part one. So definitely go back and watch that one if you haven't yet, because these voices will get you. It's things like the shoulds and the shouldn'ts, which, as a mom, we're full of all the things that we should be doing and shouldn't be doing, right? It's feeling like a fraud, and I'm going to talk about that more today. It's perfectionism, needing to have the website perfect, needing to have all the certifications before we can ever start to create a business that's making money, to bring in those clients. Because it's these things that we fool ourselves into thinking we need, when really there's something else that you need to create the success. And it starts with listening to yourself. So that's what we talked about in part one. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to take this conversation further, and we are going to talk about what I consider to be one of the, if not the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, blind spot that shows up for almost all of my clients at some point in their journey. And that really gets in the way of them creating the money that they desire. If this blind spot is not dealt with, either it's going to run your business into the ground, or you will quit before you even really get started. And I've seen both of these things happen. So what is this blind spot I'm talking about? The blind spot is not being in alignment with your vision. Not being in alignment with your vision. So in simple terms, what that means is that on some level within your being, a part of you is not bought into or moving toward your vision. So you might be thinking things that you want to do, but there's a part of you that's holding back some of your energy, holding back some of your juice, twisting how well you step into that. And the truth is that it is not natural to be out of alignment with yourself. But this is not a natural state. So when we are getting out of alignment with our vision, just know that is not natural. You were actually born in alignment with your true self. And this is where your purpose comes from. Your purpose is connected to your true self. So the good news is that if you have a business that is purpose-based, which probably most of the people listening to this do, in large part, you are connected to your true self because you were able to connect what you wanted to do, connect to your purpose, and be conscious enough of that to do something with your gifts, to turn it into a business that serves. So from that perspective, that's really great news. But for women in that place, it doesn't mean you don't fall out of alignment. And like I said, I see this a lot, and it definitely was happening with me. And so what I mean by this falling out of alignment is you'll probably notice, this is how you know if you're going out of alignment at some point, because it's not like you're out of alignment all the time. That's not what I mean. But with certain decisions you're making, with certain steps you're taking, you veer out of alignment, right? So how do you know when that's happening? Because if you don't know it's happening, you can't do anything to stop it. And you're not even realizing that that is actually what's stopping the money. So you'll know if you're out of alignment, typically in one of these two scenarios. Either you're doing something in your business that deep down inside, you don't think you should be doing, or you don't think that you can be successful doing as it relates to your business, or you don't think you can make money doing it. Okay, that's one chunk. Doing something in your business that you really at a deep level don't believe can create success or money or that you should even be doing. And then the second way that you know you're out of alignment is you notice that you're not doing something, you keep not following through on something that deep down you know you should be doing to create the success in your business that you desire, that is related to your vision. And even if you don't have a business, but you have a vision for your life, because this affects you as well. Put the business idea aside for a minute. If you're not living the vision that you have for your life, you're out of alignment with it. You're not moving and acting in alignment with that vision. Okay, so this totally applies to you as well. In both of these cases, both of these scenarios, your head and your heart are not going in the same direction. They're not going in the same direction. And that's the lack of alignment, because you want your head and heart and your feet to all be going in one direction. If any one of those parts is not, lined up, is not moving in the same direction, that's the lack of alignment that causes blocks in your money flow. It really is that simple. Like it really is so simple. We make it hard. We try to make it super hard. It's not hard. It's not hard. But we do have to know, number one, that you're out of alignment. And then number two, you've got to get yourself back in alignment. And this can happen like daily. You can move in and out of alignment daily. It might be weekly. It really depends on what's going on in your life. And that's a whole nother issue I'm not going to get into today. But a lot of times what causes us to fall out of alignment is that circumstances show up that throw you out of alignment. Something happens in your life. It's like major, appliance meltdown or something. And so you let that shift your gears, so to speak. And so you put things aside and you don't follow through. So this is really, really important to notice, is like, what causes you to move out of your alignment? What causes you to take your focus off your vision to do other things? You've got to get it lined up if you want to have a open flow and allow that money to come to you. It's trying to come to you, but we want to remove these blocks and clear up this misalignment. Okay. Now, another thing I want to say about this misalignment is ultimately, where does it come from? It comes from your core wound. That's ultimately where it's at. It's coming from the core wound. What's the core wound? We all have a core wound deep within. Nobody gets away in this life without having that. And it's usually created very, very early in your childhood. Very early in your childhood. And there are two primary core wounds that you may experience. Okay, it really does come down to these two. It's either the I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy core wound, or the I'm unlovable core wound. And people tend to have either one or the other, but they can have both. You absolutely can have both. And so it's really important to be aware of your core wound, what your core wound is. And you can even tune in right now and just feel into, like, at a deep level, do I have an issue of not feeling good enough? Do I have an issue of not feeling worthy? Or deep down, do I feel unlovable on some level? Do I feel unlovable? And your body will tell you. Your body will tell you which of those is at play. And like I said, you may have both going on. But it's really, really important to be aware that you have a core wound, number one, and that core wound often is driving our businesses and driving our visions and keeping us. It's getting in the way of decisions that we're making. It's altering decisions that we're making, taking us off the course of our vision, off the course of our business dreams. And if we allow that to happen, that's when we, are putting kinks in our hose, in our flow, so to speak. The core wound throws you out of alignment with your true self, with your higher purpose, with your vision, with your dream. So we want to be aware of it, okay? And there's good news here. You don't have to be driven by your core wound just because you have one. You absolutely do not need to be driven by it. And successful mompreneurs, they've figured this out. They know how to get around it, how to work around the core wound. They know how to either overcome it or get themselves into alignment despite the core wound so that they can create the money, success, and the vision that they desire. 100%. Some people do this unconsciously. They don't even realize how they're overriding their core wound and staying in alignment. But other people, it's more of a hand-holding. You need to become aware, and then you need to be guided to the alignment. But it's something that you can learn to do for yourself. So if things are not working the way you want them to when it comes to your purpose-based business, if you're not seeing the money flow that you want, you definitely want to check in with yourself and see if you are in alignment fully with what you're doing. That vision, are you doing things that connect you with your vision? Or is there a misalignment? Are you not bought into what you're doing somewhere deep inside? Because if that's the case, there's a core belief, or it's your core wound that is running in conflict to your vision. And so you want to learn how to override that and get back in alignment with the vision, with your true self. Okay. So if the core wound is in control, similar to what happens if you listen to the voices of self-betrayal, which we talked about last time. If that core wound is in control, if that's what you're listening to, if that's what you're following to make decisions in your business or about money, then it's going to cause you to believe things and make decisions that are in alignment with the wound. not in alignment with your desire and your purpose and your passion. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, well, okay, if that's true that I have a core wound and it causes me to not be in alignment, with money or whatever, then what about when I was working in my corporate job? How was money easy then, right? Because I had to ask myself that question when I came upon this discovery. And what I came to realize, and like sitting in deep reflection on that question, is that when you're working for someone else, often the core wound does not come into play because you're not as vulnerable. It's not your purpose. That's not necessarily the vision that you're trying to accomplish when you're working in a job that pays you money and it's someone else's purpose and vision that you're just supporting. It's totally different, totally different. But something weird happens when we switch into something that's very personal and is very much aligned with our purpose and our higher self. That's when we're open, we're vulnerable. And that is when the core wound can grab the steering wheel and start driving the ship. And you don't want that to happen. And a further point on this, which is really, really important and really, you got to notice this for yourself. It took me a while to see this, but I see it so clearly now, is that if you're not acting in alignment with your vision, this misalignment can also cause a deep-seated lack of self-trust because you're not acting in alignment with your true self. So your true self is kind of like, what are you doing? And so there's this misalignment of trust, this lack of trust between you, your higher self, your true self, and the self that's like making decisions in your body. They're not connected. And so that's where feelings of feeling like, I don't think I can do this, come into play. You lose trust, you doubt yourself. That's where that comes from. You're not in alignment. That's actually another symptom that you're not in alignment, is you have a lot of self-doubt. So there's this inauthenticity within you if you're denying your purpose on some level within your being. And you're denying it. You're absolutely denying your purpose if you're not acting in alignment with it. That's where the betrayal comes in of self. So that also contributes to feeling like a fraud in your business, which we talked about that in part 1 as well, but it happens here too. This is another place where we can feel like a fraud. So serious stuff here. I mean, this really is serious stuff. And this really is the stuff that kills business goals and those big dreams that you have, that vision that you have for your life. It comes down to this deep alignment, this misalignment with your true self, this allowing the core wound to be driving the ship. So we don't want that to happen. And the really good news is, as I said earlier, you absolutely can get in alignment. You absolutely can learn to trust yourself, and you absolutely can create the success that you desire. And that is a fact. It is a fact. There's no one out there that can't move to the next level. If you feel like you're stuck at a certain level, it's a temporary thing, but you need to become aware of these things because these things will hold you there until you shift them yourself. So how do you get in alignment? Because that's really the most natural next question to ask here. How do you get in alignment and fully trust yourself? What does that look like? Great question. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. There are 2 things you need to do. Number 1, you need to know your true self. Who is she? What does she want? And I'll tell you, I sat with the question, what does Jill want, for over a year? Like, that was the question that guided my life for a year. Who is Jill and what does Jill really want? Because without that clarity of who that person is, your authentic self, you strip out all the, life circumstances, you strip out all the false beliefs, you strip out all the gunk, all the masks you wear to hide who you really are. If you get rid of all that, at the end of the day, all that's left is the true you, and that's your higher self. That's the you that's connected to your purpose fully and totally aligned with it. You want to find her again. She's there, but we all, through conditioning and life experience, have, in large part, have blocked ourselves from being able to really see her and fully connect with her. So that's the first step, right? Simple, but not always that easy. But you must, it's a must. You must know her. You must know her and what she wants. And then the second part is that you must accept her. No judgment about who she is. No judgment about what she wants. None of this, well, who do I think I am to think I can have this? No. You've got to accept when you discover who she is and what she really wants, that true self-acceptance needs to happen. Because if you don't accept her and you're going to stay in the judgment mode of who she is and what she wants, you're not going to get into alignment. You can't get into alignment when you're in judgment of yourself. So you must move out of that judgment piece in order to align with your true self. And here's the really great news, more good news. You don't have to fully know her. Like you don't have to be like, go from 0 to 100. You don't have to even fully accept her. You don't have to fully love her. You don't have to fully trust her in order to make more money. Just a tiny little improvement here can help you have money success, can help make your money grow by actually leaps and bounds. I mean, I'm still a work in progress. I cannot profess to say that I completely know myself 100%. I feel like I'm getting close on that part, but I'm really working on the acceptance piece. I work on that every day. But I can still say that even though I'm not all the way there, the minute I discovered this and started to work on it, I started to see improvement in my money. And at first it was like little improvements that maybe you don't notice if you're not paying attention, but because I was paying attention, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And you start to see, and they grow upon each other. And I think I mentioned several times is that since I started becoming more aware of this misalignment in me and getting to know myself at a much deeper level and what I really want, and it really accepting that about myself. And acceptance doesn't just mean accepting all the good stuff. It's accepting the parts of me that I maybe haven't loved enough and wanted to push aside. So it's deep work. It's deep work. But as I've done it, my income has gone like this. And it's been consistent. And I said, even during the pandemic, like it was like everyone else was like having issues, and here's my income, because I'm making the change where the change makes a difference. And that change is not out here. Yes, you have to be in action. Yes, you have to do things. But if you are not fully aligned within yourself, it doesn't matter how many strategies you use on the outside. They're not going to be nearly as powerful until you get yourself lined up. And that's where the power source is. It's inside of you. So when I figured this out and I started doing these certain things, that is, as I look back on it, because I wanted to see what the heck, what am I doing here? How is this happening with my growth? And I mapped it out into a process that I follow so that I could teach my clients. And it's been a remarkable journey, an absolutely fabulous journey. And my clients that I've worked with on this, they're like, they love this process. Like they think it is the greatest thing. They think it's the greatest thing. So here's the other thing that this just astounds me. So I worked this out, and honestly, I mean, maybe there's people that teach this like this, but I certainly didn't come across them. And I have worked with some of the biggest, like most visible business coaches out there. They don't teach this stuff. Like it's actually shocking to me that this stuff is not taught. There was one person that was talking about a portion of this, but didn't really connect it together the way I connected it in my mind that made this work. So, and that's what I've built into this process, because it should be taught. Like this needs to be taught to people, anyone who's got a business. In fact, this should be the first thing anyone does. And this probably is the only money-making course anybody needs, right? Is this learning this process. So you got to be aware of this before you can change it. So that's the purpose of today's call. It's actually the purpose of this whole series. If you don't even have the awareness of this, how can you do anything different? How can you make any different decisions, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're opening up your awareness. And now, after today, you should be able to start noticing and tuning into, where am I not in alignment? Is my core wound coming into play? Which of those core wounds do I think I have? And how is it showing up in the decisions that I'm making? And I'm going to give you a really powerful question today that you can use to help you see and stay in alignment with the decisions that you're making and not let your core wound be driving the ship. So what is that question? Anytime you have to make a decision and it has to do with business or money or anything like that, you want to ask yourself, is this decision going to take me closer to living my vision? Or is it going to take me further away from living my vision? If the answer is, yeah, this would get me closer to living my vision, that's an automatic yes. And if the answer is, well, no, this is coming from fear, or it's not getting me closer if I make this decision, it's an automatic no. That one question can help you get into alignment if you remember to ask it. That's where the awareness comes in. All right. So ask that question. And this whole topic that we're talking about here of knowing yourself and accepting yourself always reminds me of this quote from Leland Val Vanderwall that I just love. And the quote is, the degree to which a person can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth he can accept about himself without running away. So, so powerful and so true. So back to that question, that will help you see if you're willing to grow, because that's the key. You've got to be willing to grow. This question that I gave you will help you to grow, because as you say yes to the things that will take you closer to your vision and no to the things that will not take you closer to your vision, as you do that, that will help you to grow within yourself, because you're going to have to say yes to things that feel scary, because you know they'll take you closer. That is where all growth happens. Growth does not happen in our box. Growth happens as we say yes to ourselves, yes to our dreams, and do the scary things. And that makes us step outside our box. That makes us push the walls out and expand. But we must be willing to say yes to those things. And we also must be willing to say no to the things that are taking our energy in a different direction. And that's really the key with your growth. So that simple question can get you to think about your decisions in a more conscious way that will keep your mind on your vision and being more conscious about how and when that core wound is trying to take control, so that you can stay in control, your higher self. So to really strengthen your alignment, that question is a good place to start. But you must open the door to being reconnected to your true, authentic self to really allow you to know even the answer to that question. Is this going to take me closer to this vision or not? Because if you're not connected to your true self, how do you even know that the vision you have is authentic to you, if that's really what you want? So you see, it's so important to really know you first. And that is exactly why, going back to what I said about this process I mapped out for myself after I did it, this is such an important step to take, is take a step back and take a deep breath and really get clear on who you are. Who is that person that wants your dream? Is your dream really, is it big enough? Is it what you really want? So we got to ask these validating questions to get to know who we are. And so I created this process, the 5-part framework that helps you to really learn deeply who you are and to accept her and to trust her and to get to know who she actually is authentically with money, which is a biggie, right? It's a simple framework. It's a 5-part framework. And it's exactly what I'm going to be covering in my retreat that's coming up in just a couple of weeks now, my Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat. It's one of the big things I'm going to be covering and teaching you in that retreat. This is the framework that my clients are like, they rave about all the time. And I want you to be one of those people as well, because it really can help you to open up your money flow. It's what did it for me, and it's what's doing it for them, and it's what can do it for you. So I don't have time to go into the method here because that's why I'm taking 2 days in the retreat to teach it. But I'd like you to check it out. Check out the retreat, see if it's right for you, see if it resonates with you and where you're at in your money making process and building your business. And so if it's okay with you, I'd like to take just a minute or two, talk through the details around the retreat so that you can make the right decision for you. So as I mentioned, the Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat, it's a 2-day virtual retreat for conscious spiritual mompreneurs who want to create consistent money doing work that you love. It's happening October 21st and 22nd. It's totally virtual. You don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to spend money getting a hotel. It's from the comfort and privacy of your own home. And some of the things you'll learn are, I'm going to talk about the mindset tips that will shift you from wondering where the next client is going to come from to taking the actions that will have new clients asking to work with you. I'll give you my signature 5-part blueprint that will unleash your voice, your authentic voice, and create more money for you, more fulfillment, more flexibility in your life, and more fun in your business. I mean, don't we want to have fun in our businesses? Isn't that why we started them? You know, it's not like, you know, when I left corporate, part of my motivation was I just want to have more fun at work. I'll also go into in detail the 8 voices of self-betrayal, because there's a lot more I want to share with you about that and how to recognize you're doing it and how to overcome that if you're listening to those voices. So we're going to talk about that more in the retreat. And I'm going to help you see where you personally are stopping yourself from abundantly receiving in your business. Because once you can see, you got to know what you're doing. You got to see how you're moving through your day to day and where you're blocking yourself up in order to make new decisions and stop it. So this will help you to stop the self-sabotage and start making money in greater amounts and more consistently. And that's one of the big goals of the retreat, is to help you have that breakthrough, help you to see where you're getting bogged down so that then you can put into play some of the other things we talk about. And then finally, you'll get the roadmap that will lead you on the path of creating the consistent money that you dream of. Now, last time I did a retreat, it was a 1-day retreat, and I charged $250 for that. So when I was trying to price this out, I'm like, I should charge $500 for this because it's 2 days, right? Plus, it's a huge value. Like there's a ton of content that I'm teaching here that someone could take and use to make money immediately with. But I want to make it so easy for people to say yes, like no brainer easy. Like, why wouldn't I? Right. So that's why I decided to offer an early bird enrollment price of just $97. But I want to tell you that price is going up next Tuesday. So there's just 5 more days to take advantage of that price, and it will be raising, and I'll be continuing to raise the price until we get closer to the event, because I really should be charging more for it. But you can get in now at the lowest price that you will see here. And what I'm also offering, which I think is really super fun, is a bring a friend bonus. So if you have a mompreneur business bestie, or even if you have like an assistant that works for you in your business, or a friend that you know is looking to be able to make more money and kind of feels like, I think I'm getting in my own way, but I'm not sure how, and you think that they would enjoy this retreat, it's always fun to do it with someone else. So I'm offering this bring a friend bonus. When you enroll in the retreat, and then you bring a friend who also enrolls herself, then both of you are going to receive a private Sacred Money Archetypes reading with me. Those readings are $197 value just by themselves. You will both get one of those just for coming to the retreat. You need to bring a friend, though, that also enrolls in the retreat in order to get that bonus, okay, just to be clear. So if you are wanting to check out the details of the retreat, because there's a lot more I haven't told you that you'll see for yourself on the program page, it's at ishinewealth.com/MMB retreat. which stands for Mompreneur Money Breakthrough Retreat. So you can go there, check it out. And if it appeals to you, I'd love to see you in that program. I get great feedback when I do retreats. One of the last retreats I got, I received this from one of my clients, Linda. She said, you will leave permanently improved and with a higher level of alignment to true self. And that's what it's about. It's about getting us back into alignment. Because when you're in alignment, you make money. It's when we fall out of alignment and we allow the voices of self-betrayal and our core wounds to clog up our brain and have us making decisions that are not actually aligned. That's where we have problems. And it really is that simple. So when you can get aligned back to self, which we're going to be working on and discussing in that retreat, you can move through that quickly and easily. And then my client, Julie, said, Jill's money retreat was so informative and interactive. I learned a huge amount about how I deal with wealth issues and how to change that now. So that was from the previous retreat that I did. So that is what I wanted to share today, is to get you aware of this issue of alignment and how important that is and where a misalignment comes from. And it ultimately is coming from the core wound. Okay, so you want to know that that's happening, number one, and then you want to be able to recognize it when you're making decisions and make better decisions. And one of the things that can help you do that is using that powerful question I gave you. Is this decision going to take me closer to my vision, or is it going to take me further away? And that can be a powerful guide for you to help you start to move yourself back into alignment. So next time we meet, which is our last part 3 in this 3-part series, next Tuesday, we're going to be talking about take back your money power and thrive in your business. And I'm really excited to talk about that topic because this is where we get into this idea of how can we take control? And this is going to be a very empowered discussion about how can you really take control of your business? How can you take control of your decisions? How can you take control of your actions so that what you're doing is getting you the money flow going in your life? So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about how and exactly like where we're throwing ourselves off in that process so you can stop doing that and step in and take back control. So that'll be coming up on Tuesday, and I hope to see you there for that one. If you have questions about the retreat, feel free to reach out to me at any time, jill@ishinekids.com, and I'm happy to help you with that. And if you didn't see part 1 and you need the link to the replay of that and you didn't get the link, feel free to email me also, and I can give you that link. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.